Yo, Sanjay Uchiha here, people. And we're back from the break of Dragon Ball Super that happened last week. So I'm here giving you my episode 59 review. Destroy... Wait, sorry. Messed that up. Protect Kaioshin Gowasu. Destroy Zamasu. And I must say, coming from the episode titles that we got recently for episodes 58 through 61, I had speculated that these episodes would have been pretty much slow in pace, and so far they actually are, but it's not that bad. We get little tidbits here and there of some interesting takes on what the characters are up to, and actually some great scenes of where characters are made use of. So getting into it. Coming off of where we left off, 2 weeks ago, where Goku, Beerus, Whis, and the Supreme Kai went to Universe 10 to check on Gowasu, since they had came to the conclusion that, based on what Zamasu is trying to accomplish, in the sense of, I guess, acquiring the Super Dragon Balls, traveling to the future, making use of the Time Ring, they had basically came to the conclusion that yes, Gowasu's life in danger. So they're here checking things out. So getting into it, we essentially have, for a good portion of this part of the episode, we have Beerus essentially making excuses for why they're there. The first of these excuses being that Goku actually wants to fight Zamasu again. Of course, Goku, like an idiot, denies this, and Beerus goes on to hit him. But continuing on, surprisingly, Zamasu is okay with the rematch, but insists they have tea first. Before I continue, and I'm sorry I didn't do this before, but credit as usual goes to Herms98 on Twitter for providing the translations of what's going on in the episode, since we're watching this on Saturday. So shout outs to him. But continuing on, so Whis goes on to, introduce Gowasu to some food from Earth, and as the episode goes on, Beerus does come to the conclusion that Zamasu does in fact want to kill Zamasu. Messing this up. I don't know what's wrong today. But yeah, he comes to the conclusion that Zamasu definitely wants to kill Gowasu. It seems he can actually pick up on killing intent, which Goku can't seem to pick up for some reason. But as we picked up from the episode preview for this episode, Beerus goes on to state that yes, they do want to stop Zamasu, but he needs proof first. And interestingly enough, we eventually jump to the future to a scene of Zamasu and Black just chilling out somewhere in the woods. Like it was kind of like, because we first see, the usual destruction of the future. So them jumping to outside the destruction of the city to this place outside the city in the forest at this cabin house, it kind of took me out of the scene for a bit. So yeah, we have Zamasu and Black just there chilling. And according to Herms, he's basically saying that Black's saying he'll finish off Goku and company next time for sure. But Zamasu is saying that if he does that, he'll have nothing left to raise his battle power with. Zamasu, interestingly enough, Zamasu was suggesting for Black to use the Super Dragon Ball to obtain immortality. But I don't know how that's gonna go. Yeah, because he goes on to mention that if he gets immortality, apparently that his fighting skills might get rusty, so I don't know if he's gonna pull a Gohan there or some stupid shit like that. I don't know. But we get an interesting tidbit right after this, that Zamasu says he finds it ironic that they need a mortal's help to help out with their Zero Mortals plan, however. So I'm starting to wonder if, based on the episode 61 and 62's title, if Trunks will have something to do with this, if they're somehow going to make use of Trunks in executing this plan. And what this plan really entails, we don't know yet, but we'll have to wait and see. So going back on Earth, we have a scene with the peel-off gang and Bulma fixing the time machine. Now, this scene in itself is... it didn't really have to be in the episode, it just felt like padding. It was okay at best, but yeah. Because apparently Trunks is feeling pretty down since he came back from the future with Goku and Vegeta. So Emperor Pilaf was suggesting that it would be the perfect time for Mai to make her move. And one of the great parts I felt, yeah, one of the good things about this episode I think was right after this we get Kid Trunks essentially, I guess, cheering up future Trunks in a Saiyan way. I'm just saying. But yeah, and it's one thing that I really like about this arc so far, and it's that it makes use of the supporting cast. So as I've mentioned in previous reviews, that's always a plus. So going back to Universe 10, Goku and the gang had left, not really left the universe, but they had left the Kaioshin realm to just observe what was going on. So we get a conversation between Zamasu and Gowasu, with basically Zamasu saying that, he understands what Gowasu was, advising him on where the balance of good and evil is concerned. And then eventually Beerus continues to watch, to find the proof before he makes his move. And then we eventually do get to see Zamasu kill Gowasu. And then I had totally forgotten about Whis' time reversal technique. I was not expecting that at all. I mean, it really is, I guess, plot convenience at this point, but I think it's well used here, as opposed to, I guess, in the Resurrection F arc, or the movie version of it, I suppose. I don't know, it just felt like this was a better use of that technique there. So now that they have the proof, they can actually prevent Zamasu from killing Gowasu and actually have the right to stop him. So they go back to they're still in Universe 10, but they go back to the Kaioshin realm, and then they explain to Gowasu what happened, etc, etc. But one funny note that I forgot to mention, that Whis made some kind of cat glove, and when they got back to the Kaioshin realm, he put the glove on Zamasu's hand, so when Zamasu went in to try and chop Gowasu, the cat glove stopped it. It was ridiculous. So yeah, they explained that Zamasu wanted to use the time rings, kill him, use the Super Dragon Balls, go to the future, kill all mortals, blah blah, black sheep, all that jazz. So eventually Zamasu apparently confesses to all of this, and he attempts to go in and fight Goku, but Beerus quickly intervenes, and my god, this was like one of the most epic kills in the Dragon Ball franchise. I don't know, it was just so crazy. Like, Beerus just grabs his hand, points his hand at him, and I thought he was gonna blast him or something, but he just says destruction, and then Zamasu just evaporates. It was cool. It was cool to see. It's totally dope. So eventually after that, Goku and company do come back to Earth, and they inform everybody of what happened. And like everyone has been speculating so far, based on how time travel works in Dragon Ball Z, well, at least where Trunks' time machine is concerned, is that even though Zamasu in the present timeline is dead now, it wouldn't really affect future Zamasu. And I'm glad to see that the writers have they're actually remembering stuff from the earlier material in the franchise, as in they're keeping track of the rules, and Trunks does bring this up, I mentioned it. But strangely enough, Beerus mentions that when a god kills a god, that it's different. That apparently affects the time and space in a different way. So he's confident that something would have changed in the future. So that's basically your episode. So based on the episode preview, however, Zamasu is still alive. So I don't know what point Beerus was trying to make, but I guess we'll find out next week. And as well, we should be finding out who Black actually is next week. But all in all, it was a really, really good episode. Even though I thought the pace was going to be much slower than this, it turned out pretty good. And I must say, actually getting to see Beerus do something after all this time is definitely a plus where all this is concerned. Trunks bringing up the fact that things might not change in the future is another plus, because it just shows that the writers really are remembering established rules from what Toriyama would have done back in the day, you know, via the manga and the supporting anime. So that's also a plus there. It, similar to the previous episode, it really wasn't anything too action oriented, so for what it's worth, the animation and the character models were okay, they were satisfactory for what we got. But the plot really thickens here, because we have the interesting points of Beerus, you know, saying that God on God action is so powerful that it changes the timeline back to the future style. So I'm guessing he's trying to imply that when that happens, the usual rules of time travel that you would expect, that's what we may get. I don't know. That's yet to be explained. But all in all, it was a pretty decent episode. But what happens from here, it's a mystery, because I should probably put a link to my episode 61 and 62 titles video, which were revealed earlier. Well, I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, with episode 61 title being Trunks's, no, sorry, 62 and 63. With 62 being Trunks' superpower and 63 being Vegeta's fierce battle. In that video I was saying I wasn't sure who Vegeta was going to fight, but obviously it's going to be Black and Zamasu, or Zamasu in this case. So, going off what Zamasu was saying about the Zero Mortals plan, I don't know, I'm gonna speculate that they're going to try and make use of Trunks, because at the end of the day, Trunks is like essentially the main star of this arc. Really, everything really revolves around him, especially since the issues are really from his timeline. So all in all, I would say a good episode. Now probably Bulma might be going with them, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But this is Sanjay Uchiha, so like, share, comment, do something, I don't know, and I'll see you in the next one.